Hey guys, and welcome back to Untier Talk. It's the place for the weekly PU recap. That's the thing that we really need. Thank you, Internet. I'm a little sick. You might be able to tell my voice. Sorry about that. But fortunately, I'm joined by some not sick co-hosts. We've got the lovely, the every week Hajad.
Hello, I'm lovely and every week.
Yeah, I mean, you're here every week is what I meant to say. But then we also have a special guest, none other than Dibs.
Hello, I'm back.
Yeah,
Also kind of,
you've been on before, but not in like a while, I don't think.
yeah, not in a hot minute.
Not in like months, because you kind of stepped off council, dropped away from PU for a bit, but you're back. You managing exhibition.
Constantly trying to quit, but never actually doing it.
Yeah, the same thing everyone goes through. All right, so we got a huge jam-packed week. We had the surprise out of nowhere tier shift followed by a suspect. We've got exhibition semifinals games. We've got the not surprising but still pretty cool news that we got a new generation, which we will be talking about. I'll scream that there's gonna be a spoiler before it happens. Don't worry. We got PU seated, we got gimmick corners, just a lot of fun stuff. But we normally start with exhibition. So yeah, let's just run right into it. First game chronologically being Robert Alphonse, everyone's favorite user named Robert, versus Rexus, the hot up and coming exhibition superstar. I don't know if he actually is that. I'm just kind of thinking of things to say. I'm not.
Tricking's child.
Sure, Tricking's child. Let's go with that. I did not like this game. I thought this game was.
This game was really weird.
Yeah, weird is the best way to say it.
I feel like looking at Robert's team again, it kind of looks like not for this time. Like if it was like 2 months ago, and you saw it, I think it's because of the Lilligan. I was so used to seeing like the broken quiver dance Lilligan sort of beating everything. And even in this game, it would have had a good matchup because it was choice of some sort because it clicked Leaf Storm. It just didn't have like the same impact. Not like Specs because he has Primate.
It's like this weird spike stacking team where you've got the Frostlass, you've got like the Scarfape, you got the Rock Zagron, but then it's got Silvally, Defog, which is kind of weird, and then the Lilligan ended up not like quiver dancing when Rexus was just weirdly weak to quiver dance Lilligan. Like Skuntank plus Pom Pom is reasonable but not crazy, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, I mean the big problem with it is that when you have a Lilligan or like you're against a Lilligan, you want multiple switch-ins because one of them is going to get sleeped. And in this case, if it's sleep plus Z hyper beam, like the matchup is rough. Like it's really hard for Rex to deal with, and that's what I thought it was at preview. Honestly, I thought, okay, well, it's going to be taunt spikes, rocks on Aggron, and then like parting shot Varley to get Lilligan a free setup opportunity, something like that.
Yeah.
But he wasn't, so he didn't have.
Well, to be fair, it could have been Quiver Dance plus Leaf Storm. I'm not going to entirely rule that out.
Yeah.
But that would still be really weird and definitely not like be as good of a matchup because you don't want to be dropping your special attack when you're trying to break through Pom Pom and Skuntank and stuff. Although maybe it was like Z Leaf Storm maybe because then at +1 like you don't get the drop and you can just break right through the grass resists without running Hyper Beam. I don't know. I do assume specs, but just throwing out the possibility. But then anyway, Rexus has this like really fat slow team. Except it's not like super fat, it's more like strong, fat, and slow. Definitely the speed.
Definitely slow.
The speed really sticks out. Scarf Skuntank is the fastest Mon, and after that, the fastest Mon is a Pom Pom. That's not very much control at all. And definitely in terms of revenge killing, it's just like anything that's faster than a Pom Pom that Skuntank can't like easily beat like Frostlass just could have been such a huge headache, but definitely didn't have a matchup that could really take advantage of that.
Yeah, I'd say the issue with Rex's team is first of all like your Stoutland switching doesn't exist. Like that's the thing that sticks out to me like most evidently. Because you don't have a Stoutland switching, there's no matchup there because defensive Mesprit is going to get outsped, Lantern's going to get outsped, and you're going to need those. Those are your main. That's your main backbone. So it's going to be like, okay, you have to sack or choose sacks between Scarf Skuntank, which is really important as your Scarfer, Stoutland, which is matchup dependent on whether it does work or not, but you ideally want to keep your Breaker, Girder, which is your Rock Resistant, and Pom Pom, which is your Lilligant check. So it's always going to be a weird situation when it comes down to that. And I would say Rex's team is just a bit too passive, just in general. I think.
I agree. That's with all of that, really.
You have Stoutland. Stoutland, sure. Like, okay, you have Stoutland, but you worked to get Stoutland to fit into that style of team. You had to go so much more passive in the rest of your 5 slots that I don't think it's worth it. I didn't think it was worth it in the context of that team. But it's a cool idea. I mean, like Volturn plus Stoutland is a nice, I guess, concept in theory, especially when your backbone can also rocks and do all the resisting stuff. But yeah, other things that I figured that I was kind of weak to. I don't know if you guys saw this, but like I guess Gastrodon. Because you don't really have a long-term switch-in for it. Like,
you're not wrong. Like, your Gastrodon switch-in is, like, Fat Mesprit that loses, and then, I don't know, you can go Stoutland once or two. Like, Stoutlands can get chipped, you at least have Healing Wish, but that's actually a problem, yeah. Like, Pom Pom is gonna take, like, 35 with Skull, get burnt, maybe have to switch into Rock, so that's a problem.
Yeah, and then you can't Roost either, just in case they Earth.
I agree, just very, very weird teams. But getting into the game, very early, Robert Alphonse just has a bit of a hard time where he taunts the defensive Mesprit turn 1 with his Frostlass. Mesprit U-turns out, so Rex has got that right. Goes into Skuntank. It's a Scarf Skuntank, which I certainly would have guessed if I was Robert Alphonse, but I guess he was either predicting Pursuit or didn't care. Stayed into Click Wisp, but missed Wisp as Crunch does like 90. So Robert Alphonse's Frostlass is already like half dead, facing a Scarf Skuntank. Didn't even get to burn it. Just a really, really hard start for him. Since that would have meant like Rexus had no good way to be faster and pressure the Silvally or even the Pom Pom aside from his own Pom Pom, unless he specifically Healing Wished Skuntank. So that's definitely like hugely annoying for him. And the game did not get that much better. Like he got to dodge a Toxic with his Oricorio soon after, but that's definitely just not as useful. And then there was another really huge point where Robert Alphonse still managed to get up both a Spike and Rocks, and then it was Rexus's Skuntank versus Robert Alphonse's Primeape, and Robert Alphonse goes for a U-turn, possibly expecting a switch or a Poison Jab or something from the Scarf Skuntank, and Skuntank just clicks Defog. Able to get off hazards like with absolutely no risk, no Defiant, no nothing, which was just really, really big for Rexus to kind of remove any offensive momentum Robert Alphonse had been starting to build up. And honestly, after that turn 9 situation, I don't think Robert Alphonse like ever got anywhere with anything. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, 100%. I'd say the Wisp miss was kind of crucial, but I think like the damage was done at that point. Like there wasn't really much for Skuntank to do. As soon as it got Wisp, it just needed to defog once, get rid of the Spike, and then it was plain sailing. Apart from the Lilligant, which we explained, I think, if that was like a Quiver set of some sort, it could have gotten like a bit frisky. I think it could have gotten a bit dodgy. I would have liked to see actually how much damage the Lilligant would have done, because in theory, like let's say this, like let's say theorize that okay, the Skuntank is now burned, and the Lilligant is at whatever, and it 2 KOs the Oricorio with Leaf Storm, right? In that position, you could possibly see Robert still in with the chance. I don't know how likely it is to KO with Leaf Storm, by the way, after Rocks. I have no idea. I assume it's Specs, though, so...
If it was Specs, then it does a good little chunklet to the Oricorio, but should not die.
Let me just
Like,
have a count.
Pom Pom
it's-
versus Lilligan.
Probably does around 60.
Choice specs. Leaf Storm does 53 to 62. After rocks, you're going to be alive. You're going to be hurting. That's max HP Pom Pom. I don't think we know if it was max HP or not max HP. If it's not max HP, then there is a 18.8% chance to Oko after rocks. That's before you factor in miss chance. That's not even that great. Even if you got the kill, though, there, like, this really, really sucked. The one thing he got to like show off at all was he brought Magic Coat Silvally Dragon, possibly instead of the Defog, which I said he might have, because like what else are you really dropping? And you don't want Defog on spikes. I actually thought that was pretty cool, a way to kind of like keep hazards off and you don't really have any removal, or at least kind of like threaten to keep them off. Plus, when you're running Rocks Aggron, if you can catch like a surprise Magic Coat and not have to set up rocks with it, it gets you a lot, like just extra wall breaking opportunities with the aggron, just toss out head smashes. So that's pretty nice, but ultimately just couldn't get anything going. Ended up forfeiting.
And he lost the speed tie with Pom Pom.
Yeah, lost the Pom Pom speed tie and the taunt, so Pom Pom couldn't get anywhere. Tries to go Primeape on Pom Pom and hopefully dodge a Hurricane or something. Doesn't dodge Hurricane. Frostlass had died super early, so his only girder check was like his own Pom Pom that's going to be super chipped, and he just forfeited at that point. It probably would have been a 6. Like it ended up being a 6-0. Even without the forfeit, it still might have been a 6-0. Just like absolutely nothing could get started here, and this was honestly one of the better games of the week in my opinion. Just because, well, no, it wasn't. But I don't like any of the games, but. Yeah.
I guess thinking about it, looking at the endgame scenario, if he didn't win the tie to get the taunt before the Calm Mind, Rex's team was so chipped and so slow that he could have had a chance after that. But yeah, speed ties they suck.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Lantern was dead to rocks, Mesprit's not doing much, and then you risk getting Z flying if you healing wish onto Stoutland. So I guess that's what we all know.
We all know that it's Robert Alphonse. The Pom Pom would have Calm Mind, right? Let's say Rex is forced to switch out. He sacks the Lantern. He'll go into his Skuntank and crit the poison jab with a poison or something. We all know that was going to happen. So, it was pretty sad, I think.
Yeah, all right. So I guess moving on to an even worse game. TJ versus Katut. This was really ugly. Dibs and I were talking about it before we started the podcast, and really we kind of just came to the conclusion TJ never hit a button, and he just lost because, or it's either, I don't know, there's different metaphors. He either never hit a button or he just clicked. But he never really
clicked the angry button.
He never really made a play. Sure, he never clicked the angry button. Like, no plays were made. I think it could have been a really interesting matchup. Katut with this like Scyther plus Electros Voltron with a Semi-Seer Wallbreaker, which is something both Hajad and I had been building an idea for exhibition. Katut also with a Specs Jellicent, cool Wallbreaker you don't see too much of. TJ on the other hand with this like Kecleon Faddish team that was pretty interesting, although also like, no, I wouldn't say that. Just like a very interesting, weird team. Doesn't really have like a water resist, which
I made a water resist Kecleon. Yeah.
Yeah, water resist Kecleon, and a couple other weird things. But overall, it could have been real interesting. And then, like, no offensive plays were made. It was basically just buttons got hit, and Katut played his win cons. He got kills with the Specs Jellicent. He got good pivots to just force KOs, and then TJ just kind of died. Like, there's barely even anything to say about the plays of the game.
Yeah, I'd say watching this game, like, as a coming from Black White, is it's it's sort of how I'd imagine somebody who isn't very experienced at the hazards game would play somebody, or how they would play hazards if they hadn't known how to play with it, which is like surprising because TJ has done quite well in this tour up until the last couple of weeks. So it's weird to start like critiquing his like knowledge, I guess you can say, but like immediately, like you look at the game, or like you look at the team that Qatar brought, and immediately you should see, okay, there's a Simisear and there's a Scyther. That's two rock weaknesses that I can really abuse. So in theory, if I get up rocks early and then I get up a spike, that Claydol can outspin on the Frostlass, okay? And I have revenge killing pressure in the Skuntank, which outspeeds it, and the Kecleon, which has sneak or something like that, right? So you always have the ability to revenge kill it, and you always have the ability to spin block on it. So if you get up rocks and spikes early, you pressure those two. Those are the main threats on Qatar's team, because Electros is only going to ever click with Volt Switch. That's its main momentum gaining mon, and you have the AV Kecleon also in the back. So it's like, you have an out versus it. Like many teams, they'll have like no electric resist, and kind of just fold to Electros. Like,
not just to Electros, but like it's pivoting plus any other wall breaker. Which is kind of what happened. Which is kind of what happened here. Like Gatut got multiple kills off vaulting with Electros into that Specs Jellicent.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like you have a Frostlass. Frostlass, the one thing that abuses Frostlass the best, in my opinion, is Electros, because you do get the ability to just switch it on the spikes and then Volt Switch, and you get to pick whatever you go into, and that's a really important trait to it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're never
you have the
on the spike.
Yeah, and AV Kecleon was there. Like you have almost the perfect like countermeasure to Electros there, because you're not going to take that much from Volt Switch. I don't know if it outspeeds. Does it outspeed Dibs? I don't know. I think if it's maybe if it's min speed Electros, you can outspeed it. But yeah, like not min speed. I mean minus speed. Negative nature, but.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he had the outs. Like if he just got up rocks and he got up the spikes, Gerda was a huge problem, okay? Because he had no fighting resist at that point. The Claydol was just fodder for the Frostlass coming in, and the Kecleon was there to revenge kill. Kecleon itself, this matchup was actually sensational. Like remove the Scyther from your mind, because if he got up rocks early and then just spun block with the Frostlass, he didn't even need to get up spikes. Like he just got up rocks and then spun block with Frostlass. Scyther was doing nothing, and immediately Kecleon becomes infinitely threatening. Like what's this Kecleon switch in without regarding Scyther? There isn't one. So you have to take into account that, given that he had all the hazards game was well in his favor, and you had that key threat in Kecleon, as well as Gerda. Gerda was more than capable of doing a job.
Yeah, especially when Scyther was a Scarf Scyther, probably out without recovery, took 75% its first time switching in, and Claydol lost its Colberberry turn 1. Between those, I definitely thought Gerda would do anything in the matchup, but to be fair, Ktut did keep his Specs Jellicent around, playing quite well.
100%, yeah, and despite that, I never felt like there was any point where TJ played like confidently. He always seemed to like be a step behind Ktut at every moment. It kind of felt like how a ladder battle would go, like two people just sort of.
And it's hard to even pinpoint the exact moment where it's like this is where TJ lost. It's just at every moment it was just Ktut was in advantage. Never got doubled on. Never got anything wrong. Never was faced with a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, and then TJ makes confusing plays like you have a Kecleon. This is the most important one in your matchup, and you decide to knock off Regirock when Regirock isn't the thing that you really care about. Like you don't care about the Regirock because that's not going to be the switch into your threats. He's not switching into Gerda or Kecleon with Regirock, right? So you're trying to set up a potentially stun tank sweep. Like it's a default stun tank. It's not going to be doing damage, especially if it's poison. Was it poison jab, or poison jab didn't have crunch?
I don't even know.
It was poison jab, crunch, sucker, so no pursue.
Yeah.
Oh, that
why are you
really
trying to-
that's terrible then for the Specs Jellison matchup. Makes it a lot worse than I even initially realized. Because Jellison, obviously, big pressure for Girder, defensive Frostlass, and then you can't really trap it, so that's a huge pain. But even then, like, there was just more that could have been done, and this game went nowhere.
I think it was the early game is probably the biggest problem with the game.
Yeah.
Because
100%, yeah.
Gerda versus Ear was fine. You get the knockoff early on the Claydol, which is great for both Gerda and Kecleon. And it's offensive Mesprit, so it's free attacks, Healing Wish, because the rocks are on Lycanroc for compression.
So wait, hang on. Was Lycanroc SD? Because SD, we didn't even get to say SD Lycanroc actually had quite a good matchup.
Yeah.
Scarf
so
Scyther not able to check very well. Was it Excel Rock too?
It was Z SD with Rocks and Excel Rock, yeah.
So that's a great matchup.
Basically the perfect set, yeah.
Katut has Claydol to check it, and then kind of Regirock a little bit.
Yeah,
but otherwise, that runs right through Katut's team.
Not to mention, his actual Lycanroc check is Claydol itself. So if he wants to switch in Claydol to check the Lycanroc appropriately,
it's not spinning. It's not checking Girder either.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
there was stuff that could have been done, but it just didn't. Yeah, we've kind of been over that. Do we want to say more, or do we want to just run over the next one?
One more thing.
Sure.
The team Katut built around Scyther, like everyone knows I hate Scyther.
Like, the team Katut.
Yeah, the team Katut built.
The team.
The team. Yeah. The team he built around Scyther is probably one of the better teams that I've seen, given that he has the Scyther Electros core, and then he has the dual breakers with Jellison and Simisear. I found it quite interesting, and I do think it's one of the better attempts at Scyther. I still think Scyther sucks.
This is...
Even then, the removal's mono Claydol, and it's so easy to block. Like,
yeah,
it's
a questionable team, don't get me wrong, but I do like the setup. I've actually also used, like, I do like Scyther plus Lantern or Electros plus Simisear is a core I've used. I even brought it versus Dibs in Seeded Tour today. Although mine actually has double defog instead of a Claydol. But yeah, I like the core. Katut played perfect, like completely solidly. Never really got challenged, so couldn't like play amazing. But he never there was never any
he never needed to.
Reason to or anywhere to show off. Yeah. So like, good stuff to him.
Yeah, exactly.
I think did his team win, or are they going to? Are they? Are they the one the tiebreaker? Okay. I know for a fact PU is in the tiebreaker, and obviously will be that'll go up before the podcast does anyway. So either Katut or Ziri will get to play. I'm expecting Katut. He has the better record, and if we go on to the next game, this was Ziri versus Tony, where Ziri really choked.
Big time.
Big yikes of a choke. And it was a very weird choke too, because Ziri has this like it's a weird balance.
Team.
It's a fat team. It's got an Electros and a Mesprit and a Skuntank and a Regirock and a Tangela, with Scarf Primate being like the only not fat thing. But we're like, it's kind of lacking in the breaking department, in my opinion. It's Electros plus offensive Mesprit. Not a terrible way to break. Don't get me wrong, but that's definitely the weakness I'd assign it here. Because otherwise, there's nothing that immediately is like, yeah, this really breaks down the team. Aside from, what's the one? Omastar is honestly like a bit of a threat. But other than that, Tony, on the other hand, has like a bit of a weirder balance. He's got Spikes and Stealth Rock with a Caracosta Frostlass core, which is pretty cool. And then he's also got an Electros plus Simisear core. We saw Katut build bring a nice breaking core, and Simisear is definitely not bad versus Ziri's team at all. I guess Tony's also in that I don't have a water resist camp. Frankly, we're going to have to start using Floatzel again, considering how many teams just do not resist water, or like Ziri's water resist is Tangela, which you could run like maybe even Life Orb with Ice Beam, but like still physical to hit Electros or something. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
the lack
like the
of
idea,
water
though.
resists is just all across these teams, and then obviously like a few of the teams have a water resist, but it's just Lantern that dies to Ludicolo. So just a thought. Like,
Yeah, I will say I do like Tony's team. I do think it's cool, very much so. It's like a good offense. Like, you don't see too many good offenses, given especially that I'm a big fan of the Mesprit, Frostlass, Electros trifecta, because that's a fantastic way of racking up spikes damage and chip damage. Add to that, Primate, how easy it is to sample Caracosta these days, and how many people don't run fire resists for Simisear. I think it's a proper solid team. I'd rate it, but he should have lost this game. Like, there was no way that he should have. There was no way that he should have been in a position to win this game, ever. Well, given like the end game, like there was a.
Given the end game, I think
Jordan
at the start it's not like too polarizing of a matchup, but then when you actually play into it, it was really the end game. It was like Tony should not have had a win. Turn 1 was pretty funny. They both lead with AV Electros and knock each other off, but definitely benefits. Actually benefits both. Helps Tony's Simisear, helps Ziri's offensive Mesprit. But then going on, Ziri combines with offensive Mesprit. Turn 3, which I just don't get at all, because it's like your only real breaker. And what happens is Mesprit combines turn 3, Electros Volt switches on, it goes to Primate, which U-turns out. Tony sacks his Electros to the incoming Psychic, and now the Mesprit's at 25%. Tony can easily revenge kill it, forces it out. Ziri doesn't let it die, but like there goes your wall breaker. And now it's basically like your two offensive threats are the 25% Mesprit, the 50% non-assault vest Electros, and it's got knocked off. It's like that's a bit questionable of a start in terms of breaking, even though Ziri gets like the first kill.
I guess he did it because his main fighting resist is Tangler, aside from the offensive Mesprit. But going Tangler on a 50, well, not 50-50, but obvious U-turn, dealing with Simisear after he'll lose his AV just isn't fun. So I guess that's what he was afraid of. But
I
even
don't
then,
follow.
yeah. The mess being weakened was like a big problem because it did bits to Tony's team.
Yeah. Like, they both did bits to Tony's team, and it just, it didn't really happen. But then you have, like, 20 turns of just slow pivoting. Oh, yeah, it turned out Tony's Mesprit was Stealth Rock, and the Caracosta was offensive. I said Caracosta was Rocks. Sorry, that was wrong. Offensive Costa. So this is just a bunch of slow turns. They both set up Rocks. Tony close combats the Regirock with his Primate, and Regirock just drain punches like all the health back, and Primate just gets 1v1, which was pretty funny. Tony ends up being forced to go into his Caracosta instead to take it on. And then very early, we see Ziri is free to switch Tangela into Caracosta. Caracosta just can't threaten it. There's no Ice Beam or anything, no like knockoff or surprise Z move, apparently. Tony leaves his Caracosta in on the Tangela, misses Hydro Pump as Ziri misses a Leaf Storm that would have killed, and then Tony switches out into Frostlass to take the Leaf Storm. Although Ziri then revealed he had Giga Drain and Leaf Storm, so why he risked a Leaf Storm is, I don't know, maybe to chip Simisear a little bit. But basically we see like Tangela is a good Caracosta stop, and it's hard for Tony to switch into and check, which is important. Tangela is important. Ziri then risks Tangela on the Frostlass, but Tony just sets up a spike instead of like Ice Beaming or something. And then you have a few more turns of playing around. Tony gets in Simisear. Ziri ends up pivoting around, getting Tangela back in, and Tony switches Simisear in on Tangela, and then Ziri just sacks Tangela to Fire Blast. And this is the choke point. It just doesn't make any... It makes no sense, because Tangela beats Primeape. Tangela beats Defensive Mesprit, I think. I don't know the calcs, but like certainly you also have a Skuntank for that. And Tangela can do a lot with Leaf Storm and then regen out. And Tangela beats Caracosta. It's real useful. Like
it's your fighting check at that point. Like,
it is your fighting check. It is your Primeape check. And
it's also the thing that stops you losing to Costa.
Yeah. And he just sacks it to the Simisear that literally you could have switched out, sacked anything else.
Go into Primeape.
Yeah.
Yeah, sack Regirock. You sack Regirock.
Go into Primeape.
You click close comp.
Simisear has to die because it's within Rock's range and Tony doesn't have removal. And then bam, your Tangela looks real good. Instead, he just sacks Tangela. Then tries to go Primeape and U-turn on Simisear, which makes no sense because there's no reason for Simisear to switch out, and U-turn wasn't the guaranteed KO, and it didn't KO, he didn't get the roll. And then Simisear gets to do a lot of chip to the Regirock, which comes in, switches into Rock, spikes, takes it Inferno Overdrive, takes a Grass Knot, goes down, and now you've just like lost 2 Mons to the Simisear, your 2 most important Mons. Well, no, Regirock wasn't, but Tangela is the most important Mon. And like there goes the game for no reason at all.
Yeah, just to play devil's advocate here. So you know the turn where he has the Tangela in, and then the Simisear just Fire Blasts it for the KO.
Yeah.
Maybe Zeri is thinking, okay, I can't afford to sack Skuntank because I need that for Mesprit. I can't afford to sack Primeape because that's my cleaner, and I can't afford to sack Regirock, for example, because I don't know, for whatever reason, right? And then, so he decides, okay, if I get, what's it called? If I sack Regirock and go into Primeape, for example, okay, and I click Close Combat or whatever, and he goes into Mesprit and then re-healing wishes the Simisear back to full, I then don't have a fire resist for when Tangela, like, back when Tangela's
okay.
in the game plan.
Like,
So,
I can
like,
see
do you where I'm
that.
coming from?
I can kind of see that because not killing it does leave the possibility of Healing Wish, but and I can also see like maybe he just didn't realize how important Tangela was because he left it in on Frostlass, which admittedly, yes, you don't want Frostlass to spike too much, but that's still like a risky play that maybe he's thinking, okay, he can play risky with it. But even with all that taken into account, you can still at least keep Simisear in check with Sucker Punch plus your Scarf Primeape, and like once the Tangela goes down, you just cannot manage the game. The fact that both Tangela and Regirock went down meant that Tony could even just like trade Mons and win without needing to set up for like a Primeape or Caracosta sweep. But like, it just didn't matter. Like there was no sacking Tangela was just not it. And I don't think Zeri had a guaranteed win if he didn't sack Tangela, but I do think he had very, very strong chances as long as he managed to play well around the potential Healing Wish, because obviously like Healing Wish to set up a Smash Costa or even to set up the Primeape if Primeape gets chipped from killing Skunk with Sucker and Aftermath and all that. That's definitely scary, so you got to take that into account pretty well. But still, you need to give yourself a chance, and Zeri did not do that.
I feel like he tricked himself into thinking it was like a checkmate situation, because he knows that Mesprit's going to have Healing Wish, and he has to set up a scenario where he doesn't lose to Healing Wish onto Simisear, or Healing Wish into Costa. But not keeping Tangela always meant that you lost to Healing Wish into Costa, so that should have never been the line of play.
Yeah.
Sacking somebody else. I agree with that.
Yeah, Healing Wish to Costa didn't even have to win because then he made the weird U-turn play. But at that point, I think it was over.
Yeah.
Just
I think
weird
the play
stuff.
was like sack Skunk.
See, we were thinking maybe Regirock instead of Skunk because the Skunk checks the Mesprit, which you need to make sure you don't lose to Mesprit if it doesn't Healing Wish and it actually hits Psychic. It might be able to beat like Scarf Primate plus Tangela.
If you let Simisear chip Regirock, then you risk losing the speed tie clean of Primate.
No, because your Tangela is the Primate check.
Oh yeah, duh. There'd still be a
Tangela, yeah. Alright. Do we want to toss it over to game 4? I think just
Yeah.
I wish I could say this. I wish I could say this game was better than the others, but frankly, this one was also just not.
It's another weird game.
It was very I don't know. We've had a lot of bonkers PU games. We've had some good PU games this exhibition, but a lot of bonkers ones. This one, HMNIP versus Zaya, who got subbed in for Sam I Am. Weird teams. Zaya brings a team that looks like it's from a couple metas ago. HMNIP brings a team that looks like it's an ORAS NU team with Drampa over Sliggoo and Silvally over anything. Legit, for real though, I don't know. And then the actual plays were also weird, but even just at matchup, it's what are we running here? We have Scyther with the only removal is a Silvally, which isn't exactly hard to pressure. You've got the
good
or good. You've got questionable break. Your breaker is Drampa, but then if you face too much offensive pressure, I don't know what you're gonna do because Lantern, Mawile, Girder isn't the absolute sturdiest defensive core, and you don't have a sweeper. You've got a Scyther. That's about it. It can clean maybe, but it's certainly not sweeping. It's even very hard for Scyther to do any sweeping because obviously everything checks it.
Everything checks it. Everything.
You've got to just keep you've got to just keep removing rocks with one Silvally that I just don't get. And then Zaya's team on the other hand, just like I said, looks several metas old. A lot of things look scary to it. My first thought being any offensive ghost type. My second thought being Ludicolo, although obviously a lot of people just never prep for Ludicolo, but really you've got Scarf Primeape and Frostlass, so it's not that slow, but doesn't really have any priority or controlling methods. So if they bring some kind of boosting sweeper that is prepared for the meta fast stuff, there's nothing to fall back on. There's nothing that's super fat or super weird or priority. It's just almost too standard-ish for its own good. If that
the team's very similar to Rexus's in the way that it's very reliant on momentum into one breaker.
Yeah, it needs a lot of momentum. It needs to get Spikes plus Aggron plus Sensu, which is not a terrible wall breaking situation, but also it's the kind of thing that if you get it wrong and you're kind of putting on the back foot in the first couple turns, it'll be really hard to come back from.
Something I just wanted to add quickly is that Zaya's team very much so struggles with the likes of Kangaskhan, given that it's non-choiced and okay, you can pivot around a Stoutland given Aggron and your fighting with just being Mesprit and Sensu and whatever, but given a Kangaskhan, that's a really tough matchup right there. That's something really hard to take on. But I think I hate Zaya's team a bit less than I hate HMNIP's team.
Oh, for sure. I think HMNIP's team is the worst of the two. And you even said you said before, you told Tricking's team beforehand that this was not a good team, and they still went ahead with it.
Yeah, my main, because I was thinking about it from the perspective of Sam I Am as a player and as a user. So we know Sam's Bonemons are all going to be Gerda, Lilligan, those typical
offense.
Sam
Lantern recently as well. Lots of
exactly. So you want to be good versus Gerda and Lilligan, and I can't say that a team is good versus Gerda or Lilligan. It's just your check.
Well, I don't hate it versus Lilligan. You've got this. I'm pretty sure the Scyther was Scarf, yeah, and you've got a Drampa.
Yes.
Between Scarf, Scyther, and Drampa, you can't really say it's that bad versus Lilligan.
Yeah, but the problem is though is that you're assuming that the Scyther is free from the burden of Stealth Rock, and I can't say that it is because your removal is a
no, that's true, and you can definitely get +2. A +2 Lilligan obviously needs to be Z Hyper Beam or something to break Drampa, but it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. But I think that's enough on matchup. These are just weird teams. I don't know, man. Certainly not like your mainstay PU players either, but that's not an excuse for like this is some odd stuff. But if we get in the game, Xayah immediately just leads Frostlass, sacks it laying down 2 spikes, tries to go for that early offensive momentum, but never actually chipped Silvally beforehand, so the defog was coming pretty fast. Revealed Stone Edge Girder from HMNIP's team. I don't know why you would want to run Stone Edge Girder. Is it like if it did a little more to pom-poms and stuff, maybe, but I don't know. It's not the worst set though. It gets the kill. It's not offensive here or anything, so it's fine. Or like offensively bad. Xayah does make a bit of an unfortunate play, I think, where HMNIP switches in Silvally Ghost into Mesprit, takes a Psychic for 70% plus 2 spikes, so it's almost dead. You know he's got to be defogging here, because there's no way he wants these spikes up. But Xayah still plays it very safe, switches out his Mesprit, not wanting to take a Shadow Ball or something, and I just think that this is like one of the places where Xayah could have played more offensively, but didn't, because he goes Hard Lantern on the defog, then Ghost Volley parting shots out, you've still saved another Death Fodder, a Fast Monder Revenge kill, something that stops Primate from spamming close combat. Like, you really should have just killed that. It's not a hugely terrible play, but it's one of the instances where I feel like the offense wasn't played as offensively as it should have been.
Yeah, it's. I think it's showing a bit of Xayah's naivety almost. Because sure, like not naivety. I think that's the wrong word.
Inexperience.
I think that's a bit too harsh. Inexperience. Yeah, like now it's like tactical awareness when it comes to PU. That just comes from not playing the tier as much as others. But like if he psychicked the Mesprit there, or he psychicked the Silvally there, he had basically free reign with Primeape and Rocks. Like if he got both Primeape and Rocks up, that's it. The game was over.
What do you mean Primeape? Yeah, no, okay, but with the Ghost Volley dead, there's no removal, nothing stopping him from sending Rocks, and then your Scarf Primeape is only checked by a Scyther that can only come in a few moments. That's, I think, what you were trying to say there.
Yeah.
And he didn't, and spoilers, Rocks don't end up playing a huge part in this game. And HMNIP definitely played a bit more of a better offensive game. Has a nice pursuit play to chip the Mesprit, because Mesprit's definitely a huge threat for him. Rocks do get up pretty soon after. It's just that they don't end up mattering too much. Like, it's only by turn 12. The Ghost Volley's dead, Rocks are up, Scarf Primeape already looks very threatening. But as we'll see, that ends up just not meaning enough for the game. So they kind of get into a bit of a trade war. Xayah sacks Sensu, HMNIP sacks Drampa. Xayah gets in his Lantern. He starts to kind of use Toxic and Protect to trade with Girder. So Lantern will go down, but Girder will go down. It's like...
Oh, this is the weird bit though, because looking at Xayah's team, Girder should be the win con, because it's Aggron, Primate,
yeah.
And
I was gonna say, this is where I feel like it's almost a false sense of security, where HMNIP was just doing trade wars, and that's a huge misplay, because Girder won the game until he started doing this.
Yeah, 100%. When 10-18, when the toxicking plus the protecting shenanigans begin happening, as soon as you see toxic, the next thing you should assume is that it's protect. And I think that's a bit of inexperience on HMNIP's part. He should have bulk upped realistically on the second turn when it protected. That was like a given play at that point. But he decided not to, probably because he didn't know or didn't understand maybe. But then he continues to Drain Punch. He gets the Drain Punch off the second time. Basically, what we're trying to say is that the Lantern 1v1's the Girder.
Yeah.
Put lightly.
But even if it didn't, you do not let this Girder get weakened. Because after the Lantern, what's on Xayah's team? An Aggron, a Scarf Primeape, and a Mesprit at 17%. Girder should be the thing winning. And it was almost like, oh, hey, this is just average trade wars. He's going to do one thing. He's going to sack one Mon. He's going to sack the other Mon. But then you're like, wait, you needed that Girder. Because now Primeape wins and Aggron wins without that Girder. Girder was not only going to win, but it also was the check to Primeape and Aggron. So you had two different things to keep in mind for why you want that Girder alive. Because what's winning if Girder goes? Scarf Scyther, how's that going to get through aggron?
Potentially Scyther. Potentially the Scyther.
Scyther somehow, Scarf Scyther, with rocks up, needs to find the time to get through aggron, while HMNIP can't switch into anything. Like, this is just a recipe for absolute disaster, and it just clearly didn't work out. Like, Zaya does get a double protect in order to actually straight up 1v1 the Girder with Lantern, instead of, like, Lantern dying and the Girder being at, like, 12% toxic. But that, and he did say after, like, sorry about the double protect, that didn't matter. HMNIP just, like, completely dropped the ball here. And, they, like, then Zaya plays really weird, sacks aggron to, Lantern Scald and almost loses to Scarf Scyther. And then it turns out, like, because Zaya, like, completely played weird, he put himself into a position where if he hadn't gotten that double protect, Scarf Scyther would have actually won, because he sacked aggron. And then Scyther, like, obviously Scyther beats Primeape and Mesprit, so he needed the Lantern to be healthy enough to take a Scarf Aerial Ace. Like, fortunately,
almost did it.
It was within 6. It had 6% left when it killed the Scyther. So, like, in that sense, yeah, he was like, sorry about the double protect. Like, that was only because Zaya messed up. Really, I don't think that even comes close to just the super choke of whatever the Girder plays were.
Yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is Zaya played badly, HMNIP played badly, and both of them brought whack teams, except Zaya's team was a bit less whack. And it didn't have a Cypher. That's a big advantage.
Yeah, Cypher stays bad. 0-2.
Yeah, like, it's... At this point, when you're bringing Cypher, you need to be sure that it's doing a job for your team. Like, it's not just doing nothing. Like, at that point, if you put anything over Cypher, you put a Scarf Primate, you have the 50% chance the Skymate, the Primate, the other Scarf Primate loses the speed tie on you, so that you can win with your own. And that would have been huge. Also, you look at the fighting resist on Zaya's teams, like, Frostas is not a fighting resist. It's frail.
I mean, he has, like, 3 semi-fighting resist, what I think is almost enough. I agree that none of them are, like, really fighting resist. Like, offensive Mesprit plus Z Oricorio plus Frostlass that you want to sack for spikes, none of them are fighting resist in their own right. But I will defend it that, like, with all 3 of them, I think you have enough leeway to handle spikes. Just saying, because I know where you're going to go with that fighting resist thing. I don't really agree. Like, yes, they're not on their own, but once you have all 3, that's not super fair.
Yeah, but you think about it, how strong of a matchup Gerda had, like the spam core, if you imagine it, like between Gerda and like, it's. But, you know, at that point, you're putting so much pressure. Like, even if you decided, okay, I'm going to go Primeape over Scyther, you put so much pressure then on Silvally Ghost to be your defogging fighting resist. It's just a mess at that point.
Oh yeah, no, HMNIP's team is much more weak to fighting. I thought we were talking Zaya's team being super weak to fighting.
Both of them, really. Yep. Both of them, I don't rate either.
Both of them not fun, but yeah, definitely HMNIP. I don't know. I really hate how all 4 matches were just not good. Not all the teams sucked, not all the plays sucked, but there was no matchups without just some really garbage stuff. But we got to move on. It's already been quite a while. It's already been 50 minutes on these 4 games.
Really? Shit.
Real quick, exhibition tiebreakers just went up. Both of the semi sets went to tiebreaker. One of them does not have PU, but the other one we have Tony Flygon versus Katut. Tony actually pulled out, like, okay this week, just contrasting to Ziri completely, like, choking. But he's still not really, like, done anything real huge, and Katut is completely solid and has not, like, really fucked up anything. Like, the most we can say is I think that team is actually pretty weird. Here's some weaknesses, but it definitely had the matchup anyway. So, and he played good.
Yeah, I think.
Whereas Tony's been, like, real wishy-washy. So I definitely favor Katut here, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think what Katut does really well is rotate what he's weak to extremely effectively. I think that's almost the secret to his madness. If he's weak to, say, aggron on one team, the next team, he'll have 2 aggron checks. He'll have Mudsdale plus Gerda, right? So you can't really expose that, and then he'll keep rotating what he's weak to. So next week he'll be weak to a Pom-Pom, and then the other week he'll be weak to an offensive Mesprit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what he does really well. So there's not really a way to prepare for him. You just have to sort of pick at somewhere and just say, okay, he's going to be weak to this because I'm going to make him weak to it. That type of thing. But yeah, he's been really impressive in terms of his plays. Like, he's just been super solid. So yeah.
Mm. All right, next big topic, which, oh Jesus, we only have like 20 minutes left of it. We got to fit in so much stuff. All right, Houndoom. No one was really expecting this. There was a quick shift this month, the second quick shift, which means that you have to have extremely low usage to drop to PU. It's not your average under 3.41%. You have to have like less than 2 point something percent usage in NU to drop to PU. But there was actually a quick shift where Houndoom dropped to PU, and within 2 days we've already like quick banned and resuspected. Which what that means is like it's a suspect test, but imagining that Houndoom is starting in PUBL, like has been banned, which means that it's going to be on ladder for suspect, but it won't be in tournaments, and there is a higher threshold to ban instead of, or to have it in PU. Instead of it being you only need 51% to ban this thing, it's you need a 60% vote to let it stay in PU, which is essentially a 40% ban vote, which I think is fair considering we're imagining like that's how you imagine it if you start them off in PUBL. You need a high percentage threshold to unban things, and I think it's fair to give Houndoom that because let's be real, we've already banned Magmortar and Pyroar. Those are still like unquestionably they would be really stupid in this meta, and Houndoom is pretty much right along there with them of like ridiculously strong fire breakers, doesn't have some of the drawbacks that Simisear has, crazy move pool, lots of setup stuff, lots of coverage, can run like 80 different sets, obviously Hajad and I are two of like the most anti-Houndoom people on council along with K-Tut. Other people are a bit softer to it, like yeah, there's definitely a chance that the meta could adapt to Houndoom. Don't get me wrong. We have a lot of checks. You got your Hitmonchan.
Wait, no, it can't. What the fuck? No, it can't.
I'm not going to throw it out. It's pretty unlikely. I agree. I'm just saying, like the counter is like we do have checks to Houndoom. There's Hitmonchan and Lantern and Regirock and Altaria, and then like after that, real soon you start getting to like your Carbinks and Munchlaxes and all these checks are weak to like Hazard Pressure, especially like it pairs so well with Frostlass. It really has great typing for the meta. Like it's weak to Mach Punch, yes, but it's nice versus like your Sucker Punches. It's nice versus Mesprit. You can't Pursuit Trap it. Like Houndoom's.
It's got a great dual stab. It's dual stab. I think people have been comparing it a lot to Dodrio, because like Dodrio was similarly like in theory broken, but I think the difference between Dodrio and this is that Dodrio's dual stab didn't really complement each other well. Whereas Houndoom's complement each other like perfectly. Like everything that's weak to fire, everything that resists fire, is
absolutely
going to be like neutral versus dark.
Your resists are other Houndoom, Poliwrath, and Combuskin. And like that's it. It's also not a recoil stab like Dodrio's, but most importantly, I think Dodrio was a flying type thrown into a meta where you naturally have a lot of flying type checks. You've already got, Omastar, Regirock, Mudsdale, whatever, all of these things running around that are easy to check. Houndoom is put in a meta where Simisear turned out to be amazing because no one could be bothered to run fire checks. Like fire checks are not something you automatically like really have that much of, and that's great for Houndoom. And the ones that we do have, like what's your strongest Simisear checks? Because most of them just drop to +2 Dark Pulse or even HP Grass. Your Gastrodons and your Altarias and whatever. That secondary stab and whatever coverage you want, real good. Sucker Punch is great. Pursuit is great. Even Will-O-Wisp. You can run Taunt. You can run
Toxic.
Z
like
Sunny Day.
Still.
You can even run Toxic if you want to cripple things, I guess. Scarf Houndoom is probably an excellent Scarfer, not broken, but just throwing it out there. You can run whatever Z move you want. You can run Life Orb. You can run a Plate. I mean, I know other people are less like, oh my god, it's so broken, but I'm definitely on that. Like, I do think it's fair to suspect. I do think we should give people a chance to play with it for the next 2 weeks. But I'm glad that we started out by quick banning it. I really think that it's a mon that we have to be absolutely certain we want in this meta, because boy howdy, is this thing scary.
Yeah, I'm glad how you guys sort of dealt with it the right way, in my opinion, because you don't want it to ruin exhibition finals, because exhibition's kind of a big deal for PU. But
Well, it wouldn't be an exhibition finals anyway. They actually locked the tier after playoffs. But it could have ruined like seasonal round 10 and stuff, so.
Yeah. But being a good unnerved dark type is always good.
Oh yeah, Unnerve, because like Colberberry is ridiculously common. It's like, well, that's not a thing. Obviously, Flashfire is also good too, just to check other Houndooms and Simisears. But Unnerve is like Colbur Mesprit, Colbur Claydol. Yeah, no.
One thing I'm really looking forward to, at least seeing it being tested, is the spec set, because Pyro started being really strong because of the spec set. It's a bit slower, which is kind of detrimental against stuff like Swanna, but like, who's using Swanna? But the dual stab having Dark over normal is such a big deal.
Yeah.
Because Dark is just such a better offensive typing. And really hard to abuse.
Yeah, it'd almost be worse, except for Unnerve, to be honest. Like, well, no, it would still be better, but Unnerve to get around those Colbur is super nice. I also don't think we mentioned the speed tier. Base 95 means that you're pretty much faster than everything Pyro was faster than. You lose to Simisear, which can't touch you unless it's Focus Blast. You lose to Swanna, which, yeah, fair. But you're still beating out the Oricorios. Great. And all those base 90 speed mons like Kangaskhan, whatever. Then like your Z Sunny Day or Flame Charge or whatever, if you wanted to run a speed boosting set, that's tying with Primate, beating most of the, beating any of the slower Scarfers. That's also real nice. Something that like Flame Charge Magmortar didn't necessarily have that speed tier that Houndoom does. So that's definitely worth talking about.
Yeah, and Houndoom is reminding me a lot of the. You remember pre-Togedemaru being popular meta like ages ago now.
Yeah.
Jinx, because Jinx was beginning to become really
good. Yeah, and you had all these like Jinx speed time with Primate 50-50s to win the game.
This is the exact same meta, I feel like, because Togedemaru is now like in NU, so we don't have it anymore. But I feel like it's gotten to a similar point where Jinx, I think at the time it was similarly broken, but it was just sort of low key. But now, because this is dropped and it's like the center of attention, I think it's a bunch. Like, it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see where it ends up.
Yeah, I think my favorite set will be the Z Sunny Day set, just because Solar Power and Solar Beam.
It doesn't have solar power. Only Mega has solar power.
Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah,
that's kind of a good thing, because that set sort of kills itself and then dies to priority.
Yeah, I don't think I think, well, actually no, I think that'd still be pretty good. But yeah, it has Unnerve and Flashfire for 2 solid abilities, and then Early Bird, the Lilligant check? Question mark?
Oh,
nah, I mean, I can't see that happening. I mean, it's like it's even got like solid SPDEF. 7580 is like workable, to be completely honest, in PU where stats are pretty low. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not great, but it's enough. 50 defense is probably its worst stat, and then you've got 110 special attack, which is compared to Pyroar, which was 109 and still a crazy strong wall breaker, like, because you got big moves like Fire Blast and Dark Pulse and whatever. 110 absolutely workable and solid for PU. So you like, it's kind of here because in higher tiers it's just a little too weak. But 110 in PU, that's great. Like, there are barely any mons in PU with higher special attack than 100. Like, Roselia is a strong special attacking mon, and you got Houndoom over here with 110. It's not quite Magmortar's 125, but Magmortar was stupid.
Yeah, and add to that as well that you have so much flexibility in the filler slot. Like, you go Nasty Plot, Fire Blast, Dark Pulse, and then you can run Sucker Punch,
Destiny Bond,
Z Solar Beam, Destiny Bond. Flame Charge is probably one of my favorite fillers.
Because
don't forget Hidden Power Steel for your Carbings.
Yep.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to.
It's just a joke. It's only a joke. Yeah, I mean, we'll have more to say on Houndoom in the following weeks, but given it's already been like an hour and we have a couple more things to get to, is there anything else you guys are dying to get out?
Choice Band Crunch might be funny. Who knows?
Let me see this thing's attack stat. Hang on.
90.
90's not even bad. Like, that's good for uninvested sucker punches, let alone Yeah, Trace Band Crunch seems actually really funny.
It might be the tier's first good pursuit trapper, as in like not just pursuit trapping the spirit with Skunty.
Yeah, it's weird though. You don't necessarily force out Jellicent as well as other pursuit trappers. I don't know. Anyway, that's Houndoom. A couple other things. Gen 8, there's not a ton to say. We're more of a PU thing, but Gen 8 is a thing that we got the trailer. This is fun. We should mention it. Like if you're listening to this and you didn't know Gen 8 got announced, then Jesus Christ, guys. Anything you guys want to say? And if you don't want to hear spoilers, just skip ahead a tiny bit.
Sobble gang. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, definitely Sobble.
Sobble. Definitely.
I can't wait to have another firefighting starter.
I still think Electric might be like. I don't think there's anything to really suggest, but
yeah,
if I think there's
it's got a bandage.
I think it's not a terrible. I think it's not a terrible idea, and that gets me interested. I'm not a huge speculation dude, but I think a fire electric starter would be real dope.
That would be really cool, but I think it's more likely to be fire ground because Bunny, Diggersby.
Really?
I was thinking more like Energizer Bunny and stuff. But yeah, like
as long as it's not firefighting, I'm happy. Honestly.
I don't even care if it's firefighting. I don't mind. People
make it fire dragon.
People are just too afraid of stuff. Like people are like, oh, the map looks too linear. Like no, you can't tell. There's plenty of stuff. That's stupid. Don't get angry on it. Like the only things I really agree, the only criticisms I would really agree with right now is that like it doesn't look great for a Switch game, but whatever. It's Pokemon. But I can see why some people hate that. And then God, those female trainer clothes. We have not moved past like some Japanese dress code, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
We need a female trainer. We need a female trainer whose shorts are like actually shorts that someone would wear in real life when they actually needed to put clothes on. That's all I'm saying. Like
bring out the kilts.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people. They got angry at that. Like I didn't see the trainer skin. So what was the big deal about it? I didn't see anything. So.
It's pretty much like all the previous trainer skins we've had in Pokemon games, which is like their shorts just don't go down at all. Like think Serena with that skirt that like barely covers anything. Same with like May in those shorts, or you've had like
May had bicycle shorts. That was alright.
The bicycle shorts weren't terrible, but they definitely kind of play into it. You've got the black and white trainer is probably like the worst example from Black White 1 with like those same kind of like those shorts cover nothing. That's the one complaint I've seen where I'm like, yeah, okay, that's perfectly reasonable. I think anyone should be like that. That shouldn't be a thing. But otherwise, wait and see, guys. I don't like all the negativity yet. You don't know what's going to be like.
Oh, also Grookey is basically Chespin.
Oh yeah, I have seen that. Grookey's basically Chespin. Scorbunny has the exact same pose as Chimchar, and it also looks like a cereal mascot. Those are fair. Like if you're going to complain about a Pokemon's design, that's fair. Some people don't like designs.
And Scorbunny is a bad name.
I mean Pokemon names, dude. What are you going to do about those?
Boo.
All right.
Yes.
PU seeded tour is in round 5. That's top 8, and I just want to mention this because, like, if you guys are speculating, or if you guys are not speculating, spectating PU, I definitely think this is just as interesting to watch as exhibition at this point. Like, don't get me wrong, team tours are one thing, but in seeded tour, 6 of the top 8 are actually the top 8 seeds, and the other 2 people who are in top 8 actually upset like that top 8 seed that was supposed to be there themselves. We have Katut, myself, Jad, Tasker, Ziri, and Robert Alphonse, all top 8 seeds still being in the top 8. Pills upset 5th seed TJ, Ryza upset 8th seed Teddy, so they both like fought their way up there. So this is just like, I'm definitely more interested in seeded than exhibition or seasonal at this point, to be completely honest. It's
even
just
the upsets are like familiar faces. So it's
like Ryza and Pills weren't seeded top 8, but they're like notable people that you aren't super surprised to see, It's just, I think it's actually real cool that our seeded tour ended up looking so strong.
It worked pretty well. Apart from you knocking me out, you shouldn't have. You ruined it.
Sorry. Yeah, I just want to throw that out there. I like these matchups. We got Katut Ryza, myself Ziri, Hajad, Robert Alphonse, Tasker Pills. All just good shit right there. And then
Oh yeah, that's like a good like 8 slots to have in like a PU like
PPL.
PU mini SPL. You know what I mean? Like a
if that was your
PU
PUPL team, I'd be like, damn, your team's definitely taking home the gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, all you need is like,
we would get that.
you just need Rodri on there. That's it.
Oh yeah.
Rodri never loses.
No, he does not. All right. We got 5 more minutes. And you know what we're going to do those last 5 minutes? Gimmick Corner. Yeah.
Oh yay.
Gimmick Corner. Everybody's favorite.
Go on here, Shad. What have you got? Let's share. I have stuff.
Yeah, I 100% have stuff as well. So I have a Trubbish. I think Trubbish is a valuable mod for the meta. In between spikes, spikes, and pain split, you actually do get quite a lot of usage out of it compared to other.
Okay,
spikes.
Judd. Okay.
We also have Rhyhorn, which is like a mini Rhydon.
Dude, when I said we have 5 minutes, I'm not kidding. If you want to get out a gimmick, I would get out now.
I mean, it does have a lot of fist depth. I mean, Ali Violet, shit. Actually, no, for real. The main set I kind of wanted to discuss almost is like a you know how Sableye is kind of like in a spot where nobody really asks questions about if it runs taunt. They just sort of assume that it's like, yeah, this is taunt. I don't need to sort of fuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And given Electros's prominence as well, like Sableye is like prime time, Electros pivot time type of thing, right?
So Mirror Coat?
A set that
Kind of.
Metal Burst.
Metal
Is
Burst.
the fit.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Think
No,
about
son,
it.
don't say yeah. No.
Wait, but doesn't that require you to run Stall? Or Kenai?
It requires you to lose taunt. No.
Yeah, basically it does.
So Kenai dropping all that utility, dropping that taunt,
Wait.
just
I
to
think you
lure
can run
Electros. What?
No, I think you can run Prankster.
No, pranks.
I just tried like.
Hang on, Metal
yeah,
Burst.
I think you can.
Metal Burst, is that a... No, I'm sorry, it's a physical move. I thought that was classified as status, even though Mirror Coat and Counter are offensive. Never mind, so you can still run Prankster, I guess. Are we sure it's even legal on this? I could have sworn there was some reason Sableye couldn't run it is all. Just...
Yeah, it's bad. LOL.
Yeah, I think that was the main reason. It was just,
you can only get it from eggs, from gens 5, 6, and 7. Let me just try to like put it into the team builder, see if we get any issues. So Prankster, Sableye with Metal Burst, and let's say Will-O-Wisp, and Recover, and like Foul Play, or maybe Knockoff.
I'll put Nightshade on because I prefer Nightshade as the...
Sure, or that, either way. Validate, nope, there's no problems. What about Knockoff or Nightshade? Nope, this is a valid set. I don't know why. I thought there was some illegality. Okay, like, yes, I guess dropping... You can drop Taunt. Then that's... Or you could even maybe drop your offensive move. Like your attacking move.
Dude, you should see the most fire.
To taunt Wisp Metal Burst with no attack? That's not that bad.
Here's the thing. Like, there's an even better set than that. And if you drop Nightshade for Calm Mind, that set's the best set.
Calm Mind Metal Burst? Calm Mind Metal Burst Wisp Recover? That's... Oh my god.
Nice.
Alright.
Can I throw in 2 sets into the
Yeah,
bottom?
go ahead. Just do it fast.
Nice. Focus Sash, Double Powder Roselia. That mon's fun.
Oh yeah, Suicide Lead. Suicide
That's
Lead,
it,
you got the sash, the powders, the spikes. Good stuff,
Yeah.
I think.
Sleep something, Stun Spore Skunk, get spikes up, easy. And other thing was Assault Vespana. We all hate Lilligant, and he gets Insomnia.
Oh, I
So-
mean,
Also,
I-
he gets
why not?
Gunshot as well.
Gunk shot it. Wee.
I guess if you really want to fuck with a Lilligant.
Yeah, I mean, if you have, I guess, like ways around skunk, I guess it's cool, but like that's a fun set. I like that.
I made it myself.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's a funny way to check the Lilligants. Just I got to be the voice of reason here. All right, I'm sorry to really hustle it on, but
Are you saying Trubbish was not a good set?
I
Should be offended.
I'd take Trubbish over the Rhyhorn any day. Anyway, I'm really sorry to kind of push it, but it's getting quite late, and if I don't leave now, I won't get to eat food tonight. And that's just.
It's also late here. It's 2 a.m.
Yeah, it's 2 a.m. where you guys are. But you signed up for this. You knew what you were getting into. I didn't know I'd almost not get food.
Wow.
How dare I? I need. Anyway, Dibs, thanks for showing up.
Hello.
He's a fun dude to have around. Everyone,
Thanks.
go follow Dibs on Smogon. Like his posts.
Oh yeah, like my posts. Do that. Oh, I'm gonna spam all of my links everywhere now. Like them, all of them.
All right.
That is the shout out that I do want.
And with that, we'll see you next week for more of that excellent PU recap goodness. See you next time.
Can we swap on a real one? Can we swap Trubbish with Scyther?
No.